everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. Hope we're all doing okay. It's great to be back after a couple of weeks, a little break. So today we have a very special episode for you. We're going to talk about Paranormal Living's 2-year anniversary.
That is very exciting. I can't wait for this one.
You know, I've actually had a really interesting day because I've said this a few times. Normally when we do the lives and, you know, after they finish and I share them, I never watch them back. So today going through stuff what I ain't gone through for a while.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to revisit it all again and, you know, hopefully relive some of the emotions that you got through it.
And there's one clip which you will see a bit later on, which I was unsteady when I was there, and then I watched it back today and I hated it just as much as when I was there, so something must linger with me on that note. But can everyone hear us okay? Let us know that obviously everything's good. It sounds like we're all good. Let us know who's watching. Also, if you don't mind, could you like and share for us, guys? And get this episode shared. And also share your memories of Paranormal Living. So if you've been watching from the beginning or when you end up joining, let us know what's been your favourite part of Paranormal Living and what maybe you want to see us to do going forward. But before we do get into this week's episode, don't forget we are sponsored by Paranormal Technology, Paratech, who are based in Northern Ireland. Also, if you show them that you've liked Paranormal Living, you get 10% off your first order, so it's win-win.
That's great. I didn't know we had a discount. Yeah. That's brilliant.
And as you've all seen on the live investigations, obviously we haven't done one for a while, but all of our equipment is from Mark, and it's absolutely awesome, including the spirit box. And it's all reasonably priced as well, which makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. Linda, good evening. And it is good evening. I'm losing track of days.
And Inga, it's too hot. The heat's getting us.
It is. We got in here and I was like, it's not even that hot. And now I'm like, yeah. I need to lose half a stone, and I think it'll be gone by the end of this.
It's a sauna.
So, guys, also the winner for the giveaway, because we had a couple of prizes if you saw on the last live, it will be announced at the end of the episode. So if you stay and watch to the end, excuse me, you will see the winner. Do you want to show them what they're going to win?
You are going to win. Whoever it is, we don't know yet. The tarot card box set, which has the box, the cards, the guide, how to read them, how to use them. So it's a good little kit, great for starting out, and you know, more experienced people as well.
Absolutely. So you could be in a chance for winning, and end of the episode, that winner will be announced. Janice, good evening. So we are going to talk about the 2-year anniversary of Paranormal Living, which I still find it crazy to think it's actually been 2 years because it doesn't seem that long.
No, I think as well, because obviously it's all been documented in labs as well. It's really exciting to get to relive it once again with the viewers if they haven't seen it before. That's through the clips.
And you get to, if you want to see the full length things, it's all on YouTube and Facebook. I'll put the links up later on. So the first one we are going to look at, a few of you have seen this. This is the most viewed interview I've ever done on YouTube. Which was with Jay back in October 2020. It was the first big interview we did, which is with Andrea Perron, which you've absolutely binge watched.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know who Andrea Perron is, in about, I think it must be like 2018 now, maybe a little bit earlier, there was a film called The Conjuring, and that came out. It was about this family that moved to this farmhouse, and some terrible things happened there by a demonic entity, dare I say. And she, you know, spoke about it in the interview, which you're going to see in a minute, and we've got sort of, you know, a snippet from that. I'm going to talk about that afterwards, so really exciting.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments, make sure I've got them all. So we're going to show you a bit of a snippet out of the interview, like you say, you can get the full interview on Facebook and YouTube. But out of all the interview, I've sort of chose standout bits over the course of this episode. So let's get right into it, and this is our little snippet from Andrea.
The Warrens did the seance. Was it pretty much straight away that they decided to go with that, or was it from a few different visits and they thought that would be the best way to go with it?
That was their 5th visit to the farm. They only came back one other time after that, and my mother wouldn't let them in the house, but they came back to see if my mother was still alive, because the night of the seance, she was laying unconscious in the middle of our parlor floor after having been thrown in the chair in which she sat from the middle of our dining room into the parlor. And honestly, when Mom's head struck the floor, I think everybody in that house thought we had just seen her die. It was horrific. That's why I tell you, you know, I don't know if demons exist. Honest to God, Jared, Jay, I cannot tell you that demons exist. The Warrens would say that they do, and that's why exorcists exist, to vanquish the demons. But I've never seen a demon. I don't know what a demon is. I do know that pure evil exists.
Yeah.
And whatever it was that night that infiltrated my mother and attacked her during a seance that went so horribly wrong that it almost cost her life, I can also likewise tell you that it had all the power that it could possibly have needed to claim her life and didn't. It wanted, I believe it wanted to make its presence known to the Warrens.
Yeah.
And it certainly did, as well as everybody else that was in the house. And they had come to the house that night with a priest and a medium and an audio specialist and cinematographers. And my father was livid. He didn't want this to happen. 4 of the 5 of us were home. Only Nancy was away at a friend's house for the night, and the rest of us were home. And to bring a medium into that house with 4 kids and conduct a seance and throw open wide the doors to the netherworld and beckon everything forth to determine who a culprit was in the house was, as far as I'm concerned, the height of irresponsibility. We should never have witnessed what we saw that night.
So that is the part of the Andrea Perron. That's the bit what stood out to me. There was 2 parts. There was that bit, and there's another part she talks about the exorcism going wrong. What were you going to say?
Yeah. No, I found that so fascinating. I think the whole story behind The Conjuring, and I believe she wrote books about it as well.
Yeah, there's 3 books.
Is it House of Dark?
House of Light, yeah.
What was it like interviewing Andrea Perron?
It was awesome. I was nervous because I was still new to the part of Paranormal Living. I've never interviewed anyone before. I think, not to that.
She's like quite high.
Yeah, because normally it's people you know. Like the people I'd interviewed before that was Denise and a guy from Blackpool, and it was people who knew people, so it's a lot easier to Stephen Mercer it was, sorry. And then to interview her, and then obviously I didn't know her. You just know her story, and then you're like, what's she going to be like? You know what I mean? And speaking to someone obviously from America as well, it's just a completely different thing, but she was absolutely lovely. I
think it's interesting as well, obviously, to rewatch that sort of interview, because it were a 2-part as well. It was quite a long sort of.
It was a long night, yeah.
But in that, from watching the film to then hearing the sort of like true tale of events of what really happened, is even more interesting, because you get one account when you watch a film, but it's sort of Hollywood type.
Yeah, Hollywood-esque, yeah.
Yeah, but to get her account of it is really interesting.
Yeah. Do you think also, because she mentioned there about demons and that she doesn't necessarily know what a demon is or know if it's a real thing, but there is evil exists. But do you think that, because she said she feels like whatever that was, what tried to possess the woman when the exorcism went wrong, that she believes that was there to show itself to the Warrens. So do you think maybe that could have come from, maybe stemming from, it's something that the Warrens have brought in, and because this medium opened up this craziness into the house and probably, like she said, a bit irresponsible, and she's let it in?
Interesting. I think with that one, I think the Warrens would have brought in a particular type of energy and approach to it, whereas they might have aggravated something, but I don't necessarily think that, what happened in that house was brought forwards from the Warrens. Right, I think it would have definitely always been there. From the things I read about it, the witch,
Bathsheba.
Yeah, Bathsheba Sherman, called in the Rhode Island farmhouse where I think it was a woman who lived there in like the 1600s or something crazy like that, and she was believed to be part of sort of like doing satanic rituals, practices, things like that, and then obviously from the film she did some pretty crazy stuff to the Perron family, but
Andrea said that she doesn't believe that Bathsheba was like a bad person, or does she? She said the film has used like a narrative to create this, because in every film you need a good guy and a bad guy. It's just a natural, especially in a horror film. Whatever the things possess, is the negative energy. They're gonna, and that's probably the story they've got. So they go with that.
I think possibly. I mean, because a lot of it was targeted towards the mum.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what the mum's name was, but you know, a lot of the attacks and the, you know, provoking was against the mum. So I think potentially, you know, obviously, I mean, as well with witches and things as well, a lot of the time they'll wrongly accuse people and very innocent people. You know, maybe it were potentially wanting to sort of live out that life that she never got to have through the means of, you know, an available host being there. But then obviously things went wrong when the parents came in and then, you know, tried to exorcise out this demon or, you know, spirit, you know, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, could be. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm interested to get her back on though, because I know a few people have said we'd like to do it live, because obviously a lot of the interviews I used to do were all pre-recorded and they would release them.
I would love to.
So hopefully, we're seeing what we can do, and hopefully we'll be able to get Andrea back on and share her story again. And obviously, she's only about coming to England, so that was in the October of 2020. So obviously we're still going through obviously everything to do with COVID at that point, which is why I think 2 years doesn't seem like that long ago, because we didn't really do much for.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And she was on about coming to England, so she was on about meeting up. So if she still has them plans to come next year, it'd be cool to actually sit with her, you know, sit across the table.
Incredible.
Yeah. So fingers crossed, guys.
That would be like a 5-hour-long interview if I was sat there.
I won't get a word in edgeways with her, because she's like, Andrea, I've got all these questions.
I love it.
So guys, did any of you watch the Andrea Perron interview? What were your thoughts? If you share them in the comments section, let us know. And like I say, if there's anything you have enjoyed most over the 2 years, just put it in the comment section, share it with us. And obviously we can put the comments on the screen then as well. So our next one is, so back when we started Paranormal Living, obviously it was me and Jay starting it together. And it originally just started off as the podcast. And then obviously we started doing the lives and just chit chats, Q&As, whatever you want to call them. And then obviously it turned into full vigils in Jay's flat. And then obviously a lot of things did tend to happen. And out of all the videos and sort of stuff we've got, this is my favourite bit. So I'm going to share this with you. So this was 11. Oh, I didn't write the date and I thought I did. But this was early 2021. I think it's February 2021. So this is after we'd just finished the live, I think. The live was still going on. So Jay was sat in the hallway, and obviously I was in charge of the computer because we'd swap over, you know, going from the landing. And that was like proper swinging. And it looks like it's swinging more on the replay of that. Because it was the weirdest thing. Sorry, guys. So it always goes on. But yeah, it was very strange. And this happened quite a few times, and there was another time when Jay had all the Christmas decorations up and they were swinging by themselves and there was no draft, there was nothing to, you know, for them to proper swing.
Yeah, I imagine as well that, you know, judging by that light and the fitting of it,
it was very
quite heavy, yeah. So to swing, it must have been a rather big draft.
Yeah, and because we used to live stream, so as you can see on the video, obviously where our camera is the other side of the camera, but obviously I'm not there, so I put us there. But we was on split screen, so you would have seen Jay stand up if he was going to move it. And obviously, Jay was laid on the floor. And we just had a few objects going out, but yeah, it started swinging by itself. That was one of the best pieces we got.
What were you doing to get that sort of...
So, the first time we ever got anything was recording a podcast about, I can't remember, Helen Duncan, right? So she was the last lady in England to be done for witchcraft back in the 50s. To do with the Second World War. She passed away in the 50s. She was arrested on witchcraft, which is crazy to think in the 1950s, that, and World War II, because she was telling people that like ships had gone down and no one even knew, not even like the Home Office knew, and she was getting this information before. So there's a lot of things. So they thought she was a spy.
Yeah.
And then when she was in trance, they come barging in and they always say, if you're ever doing trance, don't shock the medium. And then obviously it did, and she had these burns on her hand. And then when she was in court and they were trying her on witchcraft, she said, let me sit in the courthouse and I will do the trans mediumship and give out the messages, and they won't let her. So they won't let her prove that she was getting the information from the spirit. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Although Winston Churchill, he pardoned her, which is pretty immense. So we're doing this thing about her, and I just remember the energy changed, and I was getting like really like high rate. It was weird, and we're only having a conversation about it. And then we had all these noises coming from the hallway and down to the stairs. And there was a flat below Jay, but you can't hear. It's all like soundproofed, you know, between the 3 flats. Because Jay was right at the top. And then at one point we had scratching on the walls, which there was physically no way. And there's nothing next door, yeah. So we had all these weird things happening. Excuse me. And then we moved, and then every week something weird had happened, or you'd hear shuffling, or you'd be like, there's someone stood in, even if they can't see anything, you know, when you feel like there's something going on.
Was it quite an old flat where Jay lived or lived?
I'm not sure, I can't remember. I think it had been there a long time, because it turns out that, I think it was the mayor of Blackpool, in like the 1800s, lived in that block of flats, or when it was a house, whatever it was before, if I remember correctly. It's on an older episode if you go back to when we started, and I can't remember his name now. I should have wrote these as notes, shouldn't I? But once we acknowledged who this guy was, and then people were picking stuff up who were watching, because I always say that when we're live, you know, if you sometimes, even as silly as it sounds, just write in the comment section, people were picking stuff up, and then all this information come out. Jay did some research, and then it turns out that he lived there, and that street was named after him. And have you ever been to Stanley Park in Blackpool and seen the big clock?
I think so.
So that was built for him, apparently.
Nice, yeah.
So it all come from there, and then every week and every live we did, things seemed to get stronger. You know, the activity got more.
Yeah, it's strange.
But it seems to all stem from him, or around that.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, it shows that as the time passes, you know, things will still happen, and you know, even in the form of sort of like a light swinging around, or you know, stuff moving, scratching on the wall. Yeah. You can't. I mean, there's some things you can't sort of really debunk at that point. You know, when you know these repeat sort of occurrences.
Yeah. And it was all the time. It was very regular. A lot of the lives at the time, it's the same kind of things happening. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I like about doing this, because as we always said, it's all real. Everything we do, there's no pretending this happened or whatever. If nothing happens, nothing happens. But when I was going back of all this footage today and putting it all together, I'm like, we actually got quite a lot of evidence, more evidence than I actually realised, you know, going through all the...
Yeah, I suppose if you don't sort of make notes, I suppose you could sort of lose track of it, but...
Yeah, Jay's flat was cool. We got a lot of stuff in there, and one of the best bits, obviously, apart as well as the lamp swinging, we did a reading one, so I sat in the hallway in the dark and just like see if I could pick some up, and then I managed to give someone a message, so I was very happy with that one. But yeah, that was Jay's flat. So we're going to now move on to Marlow Lodge, which is owned by one of my friends. This was on the 18th of April, and this is a hotel in Blackpool. It's very cool. This was the first time they'd let us do anything paranormal in there. They'd never really done anything. And the people who own it have another hotel in Blackpool called the Coach House, which is apparently the most haunted building in Blackpool, and the amount of things happen in their hotel.
I think I've heard of that one. Yeah. I think I've heard of that one.
And I did get to speak to them, so you never know. One day we might be able to go.
Turn your eye on. That was you that ball, wasn't it?
The Facebook Live we did, and as you can see there, the flashing ball does go off. Unfortunately, the sound has disappeared off the video, so that's why I'm obviously doing this voiceover. So as this was happening, we did try to debunk it. So by slamming the door, Graham does walk past the room again just to make sure, obviously, he didn't touch the ball, or there's not a creaky floorboard or something could make it go off. And then we did ask out again, and it does flash again. And so as we're trying to debunk it, Bob does actually walk back in the room, as you'll see in a minute, and he walks back towards the wall. And again, it doesn't flash, the door shuts, and there's nothing there.
Stop getting stuff then.
On it behind you. Watch out, there's a ball there.
Thank you so much. If that is you, is it Lizzie? And I'm in the main bit. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you. I am going to leave now. Thank you, as promised.
So that was a mini version of Marlow Lodge, the 2-minute version or whatever that was.
What a great bit of footage that is, by
cool.
the way.
Did anyone watch any of the lives we did at Marlow? Because I released it as an half-an-hour episode, but then we did a couple of lives when we were in there. Even now to this day, every time we're in there, there's always something happening.
Where is Marlow Lodge? Is that's?
It's near the Pleasure Beach.
Oh right, I see.
But yeah, I'm in there like every weekend, you know, after my shows.
Yeah.
It's where we just go back to chill out. But there's always stuff happening, or noises going on.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that. I mean, as well, because Blackpool's quite an oldie timey sort of place, so I suppose there's quite a lot of places there where you would pick up certain things. And probably a lot of places sort of like undiscovered where things, you know, you haven't really realised that, you know, it could be a place of potential paranormal
That's a very
activity.
good point.
But on to the next one, we have the ancient ramming.
This was cool.
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. I'm excited to watch this one.
So that is the ancient ramming. Unfortunately, the footage isn't that great, and it wasn't the most active of evenings, so there wasn't really anything to share. But I thought I'd just share the video of the ancient ramming just to show you what it looks like. It's a very cool place.
Yeah, one question I wanted to ask in regards to that. Do you know these places that are sort of really well-known paranormal hotspots? You know, do you think maybe because people go into them all the time, the sort of energy levels, you know, because you'd think with such a high amount of people going, the energy levels would be high and easy to manipulate, or do you think it'd be harder to sort of get activity because it's been so like used occurring?
Yeah, I honestly think it's just a shame that they're overdone, because obviously it takes a lot of energy for spirit and
Yeah,
to
that's
work.
what I'm kind of
And then
trying to say.
if that place is open 5 nights a week and people are constantly going, and then people going with different mentalities of, some will go in being respectful, some go in just trying to call out that incubus and the, you know, the negative side of it. But when we were there, we got bits. It wasn't the most active, but then I got sent a video by the owner's daughter. Obviously, he'd passed away. I forgot his name again. I can see his face in my head as well. But she now runs it, and she sent me a video. She was sat in the front room. This is the day before we went, and she's watching telly, and the guy's filling out the paperwork, because there's a guy who lives on site as well in a caravan, you know, like a security guard.
Yeah.
And one of the chairs starts moving by itself. There's physically no explanation for this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a cool place. I think, as well, I think we could have got more, but I was exhausted just because you're so apprehensive of going in there, and you're like, what's
Yeah, I
happening?
think when you go in,
you wake yourself up too much.
yeah, you go in that tense and that like sort of psyched up, thinking this is going to be crazy.
Although one of the cool things was, so we FaceTimed Denise when we was on a break from one of the lives, and as we're walking around, Denise is on FaceTime to me, and she's got the cat balls in front of her on the desk, and then she's asking questions, and then we're getting questions come through to her cat balls.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
see, that was the cool bit.
That is cool.
But on the footage, the audio doesn't work, and I don't know why. I think it's because it was on WhatsApp, so obviously it doesn't record the audio because it's a phone conversation. It's just a video,
Possibly.
And I think that's why also we didn't get a lot of activity, because from what I remember of the answers coming out, because I kept feeling cold, and I mean, it weren't just cold, it was like bitterly cold, and I kept feeling cobwebs, which you say it's like a protection mechanism for spirit.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's like, there was things going on around us, and there was a few things, like walking in a room, there's a big Ouija board sat on the table. It's not my cup of tea, as we've spoken about that in the past. But I really want to go again. Obviously, we're going to sort something out so we can go again.
Yeah, definitely.
But then Jay was led on one of the beds and got his arse touched. So it did happen, because I went, "What's up?" And like, someone just pinched my arse. So yeah, But yeah, I think there's more to be sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I think potentially as well, you know, we're going in sort of a smaller group, you probably can't sort of even take in everything that's happening. There's probably so much
we didn't even
happening.
do half of the place, but we probably should have done.
Yeah, I mean, when you sort of like, you know, you're in that sort of mind state where you're like tensed up and you know, I suppose that a lot of things would probably just go straight over and you haven't even picked them up. But no, that's really exciting. I'd love to go.
Yeah, we'll definitely go back again.
You know, the story of that place is quite interesting. It's quite cool. So
I think my only other reservation of the place is, because it's been hyped up that much, it doesn't even mean to say it's that actually haunted. It's just because of the stories, and now it's just, it's like a paranormal hotspot, and it's like one of the, you know, the places where everyone has to go. And it's been overdone that much. Like you say, everyone from More Staunton's been on there when Derek Cole in it, so it tells you how far we're going back. And then obviously Ghost Adventure's been there, and everyone else. So there's been a lot of people going there. And then it's fully booked up for the majority of the year, unless you go like midweek. So there's always something going on. And like you say, it depends what mindset you're going with as well, I think. But that's me a little bit on ancient ramming.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
But if you do want to see us go back there, put it in the comment section, because we can either live stream it or we can sort of pre-record it. So this is, I like this picture. I think it's cool.
So explain to me and the viewers what's going on here. Where is this?
Townley Hall. It's the first time we ever did any a live investigation like at the front of the grounds. We didn't even do the whole thing. We just stayed around the front with Denise, Mick, her husband, and me and Bob, who it was.
So is this right in the corner and the doors here?
Yeah.
Right, I see. Because I can see the sort of underneath.
The weird mirror thing at the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sort of cellar window, basement type thing.
It's a cool picture. That.
What is? I mean, obviously, Townley Hall is one of those places that is, you know, amongst many sort of British stereotype hauntings of the White Lady. What is your take on that? Does Townley Hall have a White Lady? And what is your take on the White Lady story?
Some of the things Denise did pick up on was very interesting because there's, you know, the big tree at the front where the lake, where the pond bit is. There's a big tree,
really old.
and I stood under that tree and I felt really weird. Like it actually felt really weird. And then Denise come over and from what she picked up on, I think she said something about someone, you know, taking their own sort of going by their own hand. And or something happening around that tree if I remember correctly, but it was it's just really uncomfortable. And then it's just funny how I picked that up, and then she just mentioned talking to me, and then obviously we're just going around. At that point we're still new to because it's when me and Bob had just first started going out, you know, so we're still like you're trying to gauge your way, aren't you, and what the best way to do the live investigations. And then Denise was just snapping photos, and we had orbs, because the good thing is she do 3 photos together. So on the picture before this, there's nothing there. Then there's a massive mist, and then obviously what looks like a bird or something flying past me. But there's like no explanation because obviously it was something like, when did we go? 1st of May we went, so it's like it wasn't exactly cold or snowy or misty.
No, it's quite distinctive, is that as well? It's quite.
Someone said someone were vaping. I'm like, that's not a vape.
Yeah, no, it's quite
cool,
a distinct sort of thing because it takes up sort of the whole space there. Whether that means it was sort of directly, you know, in front of Denise taking the picture, or whether it was more towards you.
Well, I think she said it like protection around me, the spirit being around me, you know. Possibly,
cause, you know, the fact that it's you know, like sort of like glowing white light as well.
Yeah, it's cool though, isn't it? It's only taken on a camera.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, to say that the picture before and the picture after was nothing, and then that picture, you know, turned out how it did. That's really cool.
Yeah. We did go again. I didn't use the footage from that because I didn't want to overkill with too much of every single live we've ever done. But when we went again, is when we end up at that little churchy bit where the fairies is, and then people say there was fairies
like
there.
The monk sort of.
I'm not sure what everyone's take is on fairies, but there was some weird stuff happened around there, and we had this voice, like a kid's voice, come through the spirit box, and some other bits, and there was some weird stuff happening, and then someone come on, he was watching, because obviously people had shared it, and I think they were like a specialist in that side of things, and they were telling me about how fairies are and mischievous and stuff, and it sort of made sense to what, obviously I'm not disputing it, but obviously it's open to everyone's interpretation.
Yeah,
but it was weird. There was a lot of weird stuff.
I remember watching that particular live
when Simon said was on a 20-mile walk to find the place.
And yeah, I remember being sat there in the front room watching that, and then there was the child's voice. I can't, you know, particularly remember what was said, but I do remember hearing a voice.
And then you hear me go, whoa.
But it was really cool, was that one.
Yeah, there's definitely something there. I don't think it's as haunted as people make out to be, but we haven't come across that to. But again, it's an old building. People have them stories, like you say, the White Lady. Because I remember talking to my granddad about it, and he used to be like, "There's no White Lady." He said, because he used to go up there at all hours.
Yeah, it's very like, you know, every sort of place.
Salisbury always got
like, it was a wedding day, and then this
and
happened,
he died
and
whatever.
blah 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 blah.
That's true.
But you know, that again is such a, you know, a heavily popular place with ghost hunters alike.
Yeah. And
you know, Most Haunted, which then leads on to our next one, which is Richard Felix.
Talking of Most Haunted, here we go.
Obviously, with Most Haunted, how did it work? So, did you find out where you was going pre-hand, and then how did you sort of?
Oh yes.
The place?
Yes, I knew. But there's no doubt. I can assure people, Derek, David, Gordon, They did not know where they were going.
Mhm.
They really did not know where they were going. I can assure you that. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I know for because I was very good friends with Derek. Oh, everybody's very good friends with Derek, I know. But I was very good friends with Derek, and he confided in me a lot. And there's no doubt Derek did not know where he was going beforehand. I did, because I was the historian, and of course I was given I was given information myself, but that was never enough. Because that's me all over. I'm like, for instance, I would imagine there'd probably been a story like the three faces in the poplar trees on my notes, because that's what would have been told to whoever had researched it in the first place. Yeah, and they don't. I'm being quite honest. They don't know anything about ghosts, and so I obviously then straight away, as soon as I got, the wire as to where I was going, what we were doing, then that's when I started to try and find out more, and including when I arrived, if there was a local studies library or that sort of thing. I was in there beforehand, if I could get there beforehand, and the big one, of course, was when I got to the location, to be able to talk to the people that knew the location, be it the next door neighbour or which I did at East Drive, that sort of stuff. Wherever it was, I tried to talk to and the staff, the owner of wherever it was. So I always spent time with them, because that's where the information comes. That's where the reality comes in. Talking to them about it, and that's what I used to spend a lot of time doing. And then afterwards, this is what a lot of people don't know. Afterwards, I would spend time going back to the local studies library, the museum, taking the bones, for instance, that we'd found. Or, could you have a look at these? Could you tell me, are they human? Wow. Or is it a fox's bones, or is it a cow that we found? And that sort of stuff. And I always suggested, and it never happened, that we should do an after program, to talk about it, but that wasn't it, you see, because it's TV, and I'm not knocking this at all. I can't knock them for what they've done, because we wouldn't be talking now, if it wasn't for Most Haunted, and all the other TV programs that have come out since, that base themselves on Most Haunted.
So there is a little snippet out of the interview with Richard Felix. That is another one which is in two parts. You get it on YouTube and on our Facebook as well.
And what a great show Most Haunted was in its prime. So really excited that you got to interview.
And the lives as well. Them lives used to be, that were done. Nothing's been done since either. No. And I said that to Richard when I talked to him. I said that in its prime, that show was like, you get the whole family sat around the telly.
They were untouchable, weren't they, in the prime? They were peak cool people.
Yeah, definitely.
They were.
And like you said, when them lives and all that, they were just done properly, and it was like a proper show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I particularly remember one time, and they went up to Townley Hall, and it was Halloween. Well, this must be like 2000. I remember being like a small child. And that was the time that they got the hand-throwing marbles out the top window in Townley Hall where the attic is.
Really?
They actually got it on the thing. It's really cool.
I need to have a look.
But back to what you were saying. What was it like interviewing him? Once again,
he's a top guy. He was actually really, really nice. And even after the interview had finished, I think another half an hour we were still talking after we'd finished, and just having a chat about stuff.
Yeah, because I bet you had a lot of questions for
that was a long interview as well, because he does like. See, the good thing is interviewing people like him. He likes to talk, so you can just let him talk, and it's all actually really interesting, especially to find out behind the scenes of Most Haunted, the stuff you don't actually know. Like what you said there, like I can assure you, none of the mediums knew where they were going. You've got to take his word for it. And obviously speaking to him, like I remember like the day before he actually rang me. And I'm like, is this mobile number? Answer my phone. Hey, it's Richard Felix. I went, he actually rang me. I'm like, that's just so random. And then I got his, I bet I've put it somewhere, and I did. I'll give him a shout out while we're talking about Richard. So this is a book I asked him for, which was his new book, which is called What is a Ghost? So it's everyone's real life stories, and is it supernatural and the science, and it's forwarded by Derek Okora. And cool thing, oh, you can't really see, can you? Oh, let's try.
Oh, you ain't got a signature.
I did.
Oh, he does. He's got the signature.
I did get a signature, yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, and he tells you sort of the history about you know, ghosts and like some famous stories and like you say the science behind things and stuff like that. So it's quite cool. But definitely worth a shout if you ever look on Richard's website. Big shout out to Richard Felix. But yeah, sorry, back to where we were going. He's a top guy, and it's just a shame that original team from more sort of dispersed, and obviously things happen, don't they? And I'll tell you what was nice as well, to hear stories about Derek Okora, because everyone just sees the showman side of Derek Okora. But when he's telling you, you know, about him on a personal level, about his friendship and how much time he had for people and stuff like that, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I particularly don't know that much about Derek Kohler, but, or, you know, from what I know is like, Sam, are you with me, Sam? And that's the thing I get. But to hear, you know, another side of him.
See, I'd like to have interviewed him because I had a reading of Derek.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. He's actually like, very, very accurate, right? And I'll give him his due because everything he came out with like Bob on, and he was a proper nice guy. Because even I was a bit like, you know, this is like he's famous.
I suppose you've got to go in with a little bit of sort of
bit
like
of starstruck.
skepticism. Yeah.
And I was a bit starstruck. I'm not gonna lie. And he,
to be fair, I would be.
Yeah. And he gave me this reading, and then he was talking about my spiritual pathway and my spiritualism and things in the next 10 years. He said, and telling me about the timeline and things mapped out and whatever. And then he said to me, sort of halfway through the reading, he's like, sort of coming towards the end, he's like, you have to stay for a bit longer. I've got a few things to talk about. So I'm like, yeah, all right. And then he said to me, I'm gutted. You know, when people offer, and then you never take them up on it. And he said to me, he said, if you ever need me, ever need any advice, don't hesitate to give me a ring. And he said, I'm doing this new book, so I'll send it you because I think it'll help you with your development with mediumship. And then I'd sent an email, and I think he become poorly then, and then obviously not long after he sadly passed away. So, but I'd like to get his wife does quite a few podcasts, so it'd be cool to get his wife on, Gwen. Maybe have a chat with her about him.
Yeah, I didn't know his wife.
Yeah. So where are we going next?
Next, we are on our way to Whalley Abbey.
See, this school, unfortunately, the footage isn't the best. It might be a bit dark or a bit grainy, but we're going to try. So we'll see where we're at. And Inga, we'll just read this comment before we get somewhere. I saw Dave Cora at Blackpool Winter Gardens once. Yeah, hell of a showman. I'd seen him live twice, and he's you know what I mean? He knew how to work an audience as well. He's very entertaining to watch. Even if you didn't get a message, it was still a good show. You didn't feel disappointed, and he runs around theatre. He was running around theatres. I went to watch him at Com Uni. He was running up and down the theatre, and then he was running upstairs onto the balcony and sat talking. And he was like personal, so it's cool. So yeah, anyway, this is Whalley Abbey. This was a cool investigation.
Any noises?
Couple.
2. Whoa. Strong activity here, isn't there?
Are you? That noise again.
What?
Are you happy with us being here this evening? Could you make the balls go off again for us? Honestly, there's nothing there to make them go off. Because they've been sat there and not done anything before I started.
If you are a monk, can you make the balls flash again for us?
That's a bad thing. How was that?
I don't know.
Like you?
No. If that was you, the red orb.
Whoa. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit freaked out right now.
Same here. Can you do it again?
Thank you very much.
We appreciate everything you're doing. Can you make that device go off again?
What the hell was that red orb thing? Lord.
There we go.
Whoa.
Thank you very much. I'll ask you a question. If you are a monk, can you make it go off? Now for me.
Did everyone else see that red orb?
See, I'm moving and he's not picking it up.
Yeah.
Just to debunk.
Of course we will.
That does look.
I've squeezed onto Bob.
Now, if that was there before, I didn't see
So
it.
I don't know what that noise was. The sound of
There
someone
was a
over
few
there.
footsteps when you went through there, just at the back here.
Weird.
Do you think that was materialising at that time?
Possibility like that, yeah.
Whoa. No. I think.
As soon as we mention,
Yeah.
maybe he just wants us to let us know that he's there. So that was Whalley Abbey. Have you ever been to Whalley Abbey? Which is Clitheroe, innit? It's back at Clitheroe, innit?
Yeah, sort of. But I do have a few questions about that because that was really interesting. Now, tell me, what was the red orb? What is the red orb?
As you gathered on, because I said it
Yeah,
about 5 times. Every day I want to see the red orb.
Where was the
I'll
red
tell you
orb?
what the creepy thing was. So we'd never been to Whalley Abbey before, and we were like, because it's open ground. And then as we were walking around, it was creepy. But we put some monk music on before we started, just because it used to be a monastery. So we're like, this might work. Let's try something a bit different. And then as the night progressed, a lot of weird things happened. But the red orb was, as I'm talking about, and the green thing went off. I can't remember. It's the radar pod, so it picks up things behind it as well. But there's nothing behind that wall. It's like just a stone building thing.
Oh,
yeah. And I remember looking in the camera, and this massive, giant red light, like a red orb, just flooded the camera. And I was like, I might have said an explicit word because it made me like, what? And then when I watched, that's the only time I've looked back at footage, because when I tried to find it, I couldn't find it anywhere.
Really?
But the phone took up this massive red orb, and obviously you could see how dark it was. So I know the footage weren't the best, but yeah, and I couldn't find the picture, and I'm gutted about that.
Wow, that's interesting. So what do you think that the orb could have been, or possibly?
I think, if I remember correctly, because you see, there's the only bit I watched back, and obviously today was the first time I looked back at a lot of these things, is I think a lot of it were like picking up on like monks and stuff like that. Because actually, I just remembered, so there was one bit where the staircase used to be, or would have been, which would have been going up to the next level of the monastery. And I remember just getting this feeling that there was a guy stood in front of me, and I could see him in my mind's eye of this. He looked like a monk. I know we're in a monastery, you could put two and two together, but seeing him as plain day, and he had this brown, I think he had a brown cloak. I think it was brown. I'll have to watch it back. It's on the footage, so if you go back, you can find it. But I remember seeing his face as clear as day, and like describing exactly what he looked like.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. But it's a cool place, and there's a lot of. The only issue is when you get some of the noises we did get, is like it could be bats, because you get bats around there, or it could be like rabbits. But when it was like things going off and there's nothing there, like the radar pod and then the music box going off.
Yeah, the music box were really
And every time that
creepy.
went off, we tried to debunk that by walking up and down, even though we were all stood still majority of the time. And then even when we weren't, it'd go off, we'd walk back and forth, and it
Yeah,
still
like
wouldn't
to
go off.
sort of like give
Yeah,
yourselves
just to see,
like the
but
same.
then it shouldn't pick us up. But yeah.
Yeah,
cool
the
place.
music box was extra creepy, I have to say, watching
Oh.
that back.
Have you heard the new one? It sings "Ring a Ring of Roses." I know, it's even scary. So big shout out to Paranormal Technology, because they provided all the equipment in that video. So as I mentioned, guys, if you go on Paratech, check them out on Facebook, Paranormal Technology, and there's email and everything. 10% off your first order, showing that you like Paranormal Living. Big shout out to Mark and Carrie.
So was Whalley Abbey the place that you watched that back and you were mentioning feeling uncomfortable?
No, that's the one after the next one.
Oh,
I hated that one. I'll tell you more about it anyway. But what did you think of that? I know it's only a snippet. You can't really get much of a snippet, but that was some of the best.
No, it's interesting. It's really, obviously you're saying as well that you sort of like, you vision the sort of the monk on the stairwell. It fully makes sense. I mean, obviously due to the nature of the place as well, but to get, that kind of, because not every sort of like paranormal, bit of evidence is something, that particularly happens, whereas it's like a noise or something like that.
Good point, very good point. Yeah.
Sometimes it's things that only certain
Like your
people
sense.
have that, the ability to see past or to, get that idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that actually, because the majority of places you just go in to try and get something to happen, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Or if you pick something up, I think it's hard. I think the issue is when you pick something up, or like I was saying to you about the monk, I can tell you that, but I can't physically show you. As I think with a lot of programs, they want the equipment to go off to say, right, this is we are not setting this off. We can't debunk it. You know what I mean? But it takes a lot of energy, and obviously, I don't know if a lot of people go there or not. You know what I mean? But it was definitely a cool place, and we got quite a bit. So I don't mind even going back again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult, but you know, as someone who knows you, I have no reason to disbelieve a word that you said about that. Now the same thing when we went to Newsham.
Oh, that one messed up.
That
I know we reviewed it and it was crazy.
Terrified, mate. I mean, we were.
She collapsed.
Yeah, it was a great watch. Go and watch it. It's on YouTube and on Paranormal Living page. But it's you know, again in that scenario, when you know, we'll just wrap it up quick. But we're in these that hospital bays in this old, you know, I think it were.
Was it the mortuary bit?
No, it was upstairs. It was the part where apparently Ian Brady was.
Oh,
was
in the in the hospital side of it.
Yeah.
Well, I know it was a hospital, but in where the bays were, yeah. Sorry.
So I mean, you go down this corridor, and then there was like bay after it. And we're in the very end one, and we had a teddy bear which lit up in the other side, and me and Jared were stood in the opposite, and we were like sort of like sat on the floor, crouched down, legs crossed type thing, and then we were asking the bear questions, the bear responding, lighting up, flashing, and then Jared said he just shot up out of nowhere and said, "I've just seen someone bum shuffling towards me in like this hospital gown, like dragging themselves along the floor, and I have never stood up faster in my entire life, because once he'd said it, then it were almost like he shared it with me, so now I could see it."
I tell you what I found, because obviously we've done a few bits now. It's like once you find your group, and like even when we were with the likes of Denise as well and stuff, you know, when you get that people you can blend with, I find you open up more, and especially at Newsham that night, I think I'd opened up, and there was all sorts.
Oh, it was fantastic.
It was awesome. We picked up a lot, and it showed you how sensitive you were as well.
Yeah, amazing place.
Sam, good evening. Hope you're all right. Welcome to tonight's show. We're just talking about some of the memories of Paranormal Living. So 2 years, celebrating 2 years. So it's just 2 years, 1 month exact.
We should have got party hats.
I thought of that, and a cake.
And a
I
cake.
can't really eat a
We
cake,
should
but
have
yeah.
one
How
spoon.
Burnley did I sound like a cake?
We should have got a cake.
If so, guys, for those just joining, if you have any of your favourite memories or your favourite parts of Paranormal Living, put it in the comment section.
I mean, this next part is one that I'm really excited about, because I love this place.
Yeah, we went. This is a week after we went with you and Tracy.
Yeah, it were a great place. It still is a great place, and
Creepy.
it's so much history in the surrounding area that, you know, it's near on impossible to not get, you know, some activity there. But we'll let you watch the tape.
Because nowadays we've got a lot of people what are into herbal remedies. Myself, I read tarot cards, and I suppose I'd be classed as a witch, as a modern day witch.
Oh wow, I went off twice.
And in your day, you got punished for doing what we did, which I do believe was wrong. And I really feel for you. I really do feel for you. Like I said, we're not here to be disrespectful. I'm here to stick up for you, Alice. Seriously. And I think you agree with everything I'm saying, don't you, Alice? Do you mind me calling you Alice? Am I okay calling you Alice?
Where the tree is right at the bottom. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Have you been following us around the cemetery?
What response have you got on?
Everyone's really quiet, which is not a bad thing. This is just crazy.
Alice, are you still there? I just felt something go right past me.
Yes.
Alice, have you gone?
I mean, something here.
Seriously, I just felt something walk right past
Really?
me. Yeah. Alice, can you come back, please? Alice? Oh, she's back, she's back, she's back. Was that you, what I just felt then walk right past me? Did you just walk past me, Alice? I know, I felt you. I'll tell you something, you've got a lovely energy. I didn't feel afraid at all.
No.
I didn't get anything. I really do believe they were wrong. They were wrong done.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We were talking about it in the car actually.
So guys, that was from New Church Cemetery. So as I said, we was there a week before with Lorna and Tracy. And I'm not really into doing cemeteries, but that cemetery, there's definitely some crazy energy going on in there. And Alice is Alice Nutter. So that Nutter grave, it doesn't say Alice on it, but people seem to think that it's like an unmarked grave that she's buried in.
It has this sort of symbol of what looks to be some sort of skull and type thing on it. I think the word Nutter is on the grave.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't think it particularly says Alice, but it's so weather worn now. It must be over 100 years old.
They were saying about, because she was obviously condemned as a witch, she wouldn't have been able to probably be buried in a Catholic graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it's Church of England now, but I think it probably would have been, obviously, back then. And that's why they would have had to bury her in like an unmarked grave. You know, because obviously with it being a church.
Yes.
It's like consummated ground, I think that's the word, isn't it?
I mean, from the video though, the responses that you got from that was so intelligent, so, you know, there was the, you know, it's not like the flashing ball went off all the time. It was, you'd ask the question, it'd pause, then an answer, and then again and again and again, and then it, you know, it was straight when Denise mentioned
feeling a walk past her.
Feeling a walk past her, and then the answers didn't come back.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you asked her to come back politely, nicely, and then she came back, which I think incredible.
But I've spoken about this book before. I have a book for everything, as Lorna's just said in the break. So this is the discovery of witches. So it's the actual Pendle Witch Trials. I've still never got around to reading it yet. But it's the modern day, obviously transcribed into modern day language. But it's exactly what happened in every court case and down to a T. And we always said, and we were talking about it in the car on the way there, that I feel sorry for these ladies because I don't think they were witches. I think they were condemned as bad people, and everything's taken out of context. And one of my issues is a lot of people go on search for the Pendle witches as they were bad people. You know what I mean? They're like, you witches, you know, and like come out with this negative side, and I don't like that. And I'm like, I genuinely don't feel that they were like that. And I think the fact that we were probably, and just the way Denise was talking to her, and you know, we've got in with a respectful attitude is a big difference, and that's probably why we did get a bit more than maybe other people.
100%. I mean, you know, these, you know, women, whether, you know, they were wrongly accused as they were, you know, they were no more than healers and people that you would probably nowadays refer to as a hippie. And, you know, they had no way of proving innocence. It was, you know, I don't know, obviously they used to do like dunking and things in the river where if they like drowned then they were innocent, if they floated they were a witch.
Which does not make sense.
Which either way you can't prove a case in that. So yeah, I think that they were, you know, they were really wrongly done out, and I think approaching them with the niceness and the politeness that you did in that video probably would make all the difference.
Yeah, like I said, because a lot of the things you watch online, it's always going in with an attitude of these were bad people and they're going to really put spells on you, and I don't genuinely
Once again though, do you not think that's that sort of Hollywood take on it? Because when you imagine a witch,
you think Hocus Pocus.
You have a very specific image in your head of like broomsticks and pointy hats, cauldrons. Yeah, I'll put a spell on you.
Yeah.
But then it, you know, it's all that sort of like negative connotations that come with it.
That's true.
That then put, you know, the negative into your head to then go to somewhere like that.
No, I agree there. I'll tell you one last thing before we move on was, I know seeing Denise wanting to leave somewhere so fast. So there was a lot of weird, some stuff what happened in that cemetery was weird. I remember we were still sort of towards the bottom end, and we just heard someone go bleh, like that, literally, and I went, and we all just went, what the explicit, and there's no one around, right? And there was no, and so me and Carl went for a walk so went out of the gate, you know, to where that bit of, and you'd have to climb over a massive wall to get to right behind where we were. I'm like, because I think it's like a schoolyard or there's like, I think something there.
Yeah, like a little playground type thing.
And I'm like, there was physically no one around. It was so quiet, and that come through. And then Denise just mentioned about this, that energy is just slowly coming up, and it's just like, you know, as if like you want to leave. And then we did some research about Roger Norwell, who was the gentleman who, he was a sheriff for Lancashire, I think, the one who arrested them all. And I think he was married in that church, or he was buried in that church, one of the two.
That's interesting.
And the thing is, as well, is he still on that hunt because of what we were doing, and obviously about talking about mediumship and stuff? Is he still on the hunt for these witches?
Yeah, because obviously I imagine...
Or for anyone who's trying to contact the afterlife.
Yeah, I imagine, obviously, of the time he passed away, he'll probably still be in that mindset of...
Especially going back to, what, 1612
yeah,
or whatever it was.
It's strange as well that you mentioned wanting to leave, because I remember when we went with Tracy and...
It did not get a bit weird that night again as well?
Yeah, I just remember being stood in the... Do you know that little...
the alcove by the church,
where the doors are, and there's that sort of like part onto it. But I remember Tracy, she just switched, and she was like, we went super uncomfortable, and she was like, she felt like there were just a sea of people like looking, and like we were obviously, because we were all sort of like tightly squeezed in this little area, and then you know you're just looking down the hill at this huge graveyard. I suppose you would get that, but then again, I suppose it's not only, you know, obviously Alice is in there, but, you know, other people could be in there, like you say, on the unmarked graves. There's a lot of graves in there.
Well, the week after, we ain't finding more graves, like even just places you wouldn't even think. There's this massive tree, and Denise mentioned something about this grave, you know, it was right at the beginning, we was round sort of the side of the church, sort of this side where the gate was, and she mentioned about a grave, if I remember correctly, about the things being wrapped, you know, like a fence or something. But there's obviously no grave. You can't physically see a grave like that in New Church Cemetery until we walk round, and there's this massive, like, overgrown tree, and it must cover about 5 graves, and the grave she described down to a T was under this bush.
Yeah, it's a real... I mean, years ago I went there with Wes when we first ever got together, and we were, you know, ghost busting. And I remember walking, do you know, first straight down that path, do you know that bush that's in there, that like huge bush, it's like a little water fountain. And I remember just walking down, I was giving it all cool because I'd just met him, and I was like, let's go ghost busting. And then I think because I had that bit of like taking the mick attitude, it was terrifying. I remember walking down there, and then out of nowhere, about 50 crows just flew out of this bush. I'm like, whoa. And then, shortly after that, I left.
Oh, but it's an interesting place, because we're going to do an actual full series going to come out soon about the, like, sort of on the trail of the Pendle Witches.
Absolutely, I can't wait for
And it's going to be, like you say, it's going to be done with respect and not there to sort of...
Yeah, we're not to like bash them or anything like that. But anyways, on to the next one.
This is one I hate. I hated it when we were there that night, and then when I rewatched a bit of it back today to edit it, to put into this, I sat there and I was so uncomfortable watching it again. So whatever it is happened that night, as you'll see on the video, you'll see on the video sort of the worst bit of it, and even today watching it back, I actually felt uncomfortable.
Well, we'll watch the video and then I'll give you an interview. This is Lowther Gardens.
And I'm not going to lie, people, this is weird. This is the weirdest night Did you not say something? I need to stand up. I mean, I don't know, I just feel uneasy. I'm not saying it because obviously Carl's famous. I just feel really weird. Guys, honestly, you know us, we're honest. I genuinely don't like this. It feels weird. I feel really uncomfortable. Right, I'm going to have to stand outside. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. It makes sense, obviously, what you just said, Carrie, because I was asking my granddad, and obviously our guys come forward to take it away from me. I had to get out of there, and I just got the horrible feeling, like witch or something. I don't know. What's that, pal?
Gotcha, was that?
Yeah, so I thought so.
So that was the snippet of Lowther Gardens in Lytham. Still makes me uncomfortable watching it back, and I hated it when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a lot coming through on the spirit box then.
It got worse as the coming towards the end when Carl was doing his little bit. That spirit box was talking for fun, and I actually started blanking out because I'm like, whatever it is, it wants you to listen, and it's not.
Yeah, what
The
was
energy
it?
was so uncomfortable.
It's end words then, what it gotcha.
Yeah.
Like gotcha.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Because I was sat in that chair and I just remember feeling something coming towards you, you know, something like trying to just
and then did you pick up? Did you say the word like witch?
Yeah, they said on the video like I felt like a witch, or you know, just so whatever it was, it just wasn't nice.
It's
it was horrendous.
I mean,
I never get uncomfortable.
I don't know the sort of history of Lowther Gardens.
Neither do I. The only ghost story I ever heard about that place was that apparently there's a woman who's seen sat on the bench and she's waiting for like a white lady kind of story.
Yeah.
That she sits on this one particular bench and she's waiting for her husband to come and meet her.
Back from sea.
Yeah, something probably along them lines. That's the only story I know. And it was, excuse me, that night was random because we didn't even intentionally plan to go there. We went somewhere else first. Went to the big windmill on Living Front, on where the green is. And then we just ended up there. Thought, oh, we'll go here. And then I think we got taught a lesson that night as well of how to be careful.
Do you not think that due to your mediumship, is that the right word? Yeah.
Being sensitive.
Yeah, sensitive. Do you not find that maybe that's the reason that you're sort of drawn to these places? Because you mentioned it again before to me off this when you went to Exeter Hall and then you ended up further down the road and there were some gates with like a padlock and things. Do you not maybe feel
ended
like
up on that road where at Hull Sark, yeah.
Like unintentionally drawn to places without even realising you're doing it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's like the second time now, and both the times you've picked up on things.
And both times were very intense, so yeah, possibly.
Yeah, maybe you meant to be there at that time.
Honestly, when we sat, it's literally just like a bandstandy shelter, and it's horrendous. And then, like I say, it just got worse and worse. And where Bob at one point actually ran off. And I'm like, it's just weird. It's like we've never been in that position. I feel uncomfortable. It's like weird. I even feel it's like long gone, and I still feel uncomfortable talking about it. So whatever was there is obviously not very nice, and it's still. I don't know, because I remember we did a full shutdown, half an hour sat in my car after paying this meditation, you know, like to cleanse yourself there. But yeah, it wasn't very nice. And I remember I went back like a couple of months later to the theatre on the ground, and I went to watch Clinton Baptiste from Phoenix Nights, you know, the fake circuit. So I went to watch him, and I remember stood there in the bar and my arm went dead, which is a sign that I've opened up, and I'm like, there's something here. I'm picking up stuff, and it's happened a few times, and me and Bob did actually go back, and it still felt a bit weird.
Great evening spent listening and watching your clips. Well, thank you very much. We have enjoyed it just as much as you have, and we're not finished. We've still got one more.
One more. This is a cool.
This is table tipping. And where was this at?
In Accrington, it was in a saloon.
In a salon?
So it's where Denise used to run the weekly classes, you know, for development, for mediumship.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I can't remember what the name of the salon is, but yeah. So yeah, do you want to take a look?
Take it away.
Have you seen this yet?
Maybe. I think I might have seen it. Yeah.
So it's a Halloween week. We did this week of just random stuff. And yeah, this is a snippet of it. The whole thing is on YouTube and Facebook. You want to see the whole thing.
Stopped again.
Ouch.
You know, I just get the feeling I've literally got something like you need to stop doubting.
Yeah,
That's
you know what? I was just going to say exactly the same thing. Getting a bit angry. Like, do you need anything?
Is he getting wound up?
Yes.
I've got a bit like
He is getting wound up.
I've got a bit like it.
Like,
Spinning
I've
around.
been overthinking doubting things recently.
I've just got mine for now, so it looks like we've got to change over now.
Weirdly enough, as you said change, I thought of chains as in like a bracelet or, you know, like a chain. As you said, look, that's
Picking on you.
I know, innit?
Is,
Said it's a
can
good
I,
job on the
just
chair.
last question. Is this something about jewellery?
Yes.
Oh.
A bracelet? Or a chain? It's weird as you said it, it literally straight in my mind, it was there.
That was a mini version of the table tipping.
Now that was something.
And Sam's just commented then, Sam, you know that bit at the end? That I didn't want to use anyone's messages. Obviously, I showed that little bit in. But was that the message for your mum? Or something? because I remember you got the messages. Because the cool thing about that night was people who was watching got a message, and obviously we know nothing. Obviously, none of us are pushing the table. Nothing is anything dodgy going on, and people are getting messages who were watching live on Facebook. The whole evening was absolutely immense, and it's one of the best things I've ever experienced in my life, especially when that table started running.
Yeah, because it was fully. I mean, when you expect it to just like slide a bit, and then you think, like, was it me? Was it not me? But that was fully moving around.
And the thing is, you have to do it with people you trust, who you know aren't gonna mess about.
Yeah, mess about, move the table type of thing.
And we even on the video, if you watch the live, if you go back to watch it on YouTube or Facebook, at one point you can see us, showing people that it's not us, because you have to because when there's all that you around the table, you have to physically push it. You know what I mean? You'd have to physically rock it.
Yeah.
And then it's just. I'd honestly, it was just the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And like you say, I got a message off my granddad, and then like you say, Sam got the message, and it was just absolutely incredible. One of the highlights of Paranormal. We're going to do it again at some point, to get everyone together. I don't think so. Nothing familiar about the chain. You do need to do table tipping again. Honestly, it was just. Again, it's just another. I didn't realise, again, as I said to you at the beginning, like how much evidence we've actually brought to the table. And this is just snippets of lives and just snippets of bits, and we've actually picked up quite a lot. And there's a lot of proof of the life after death, and obviously things we picked up. It's actually pretty immense.
I mean, it's really exciting as well, because we have quite a lot of big plans and dreams ahead for Paranormal Living, and places we want to go, things we want to do. It's all there. We have countless pages in books written down and scribbles of notes of things that we want to do. So we can only gather more evidence and ultimately try and prove that there is more.
Oh, definitely. And I think the good thing is, like you say, we always try and debunk everything what happens.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you what's cool about watching that table tipping is when we were on about the chain, is like, because obviously Susan's on this. So the yes was going that way. We're back to front, aren't we, on camera? But Susan, her body doesn't even move, and obviously she was going to push it. She would have done that, and she doesn't. You know what I mean? It's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot on the table, everyone's sort of like, they're not flat. They're like sort of fingertips, and it'd be really difficult to push a table with just your fingertips.
Honestly, it was the best experience, and it's just we're definitely going to do it again. There's a few things, as Lorna mentioned then, about plans we've got, and there's a lot more experimental nights. We can do something like, once a month where we can do table tipping and, like other stuff with mediumship, because obviously that's what we really want to do with Paranormal Living, moving into this next 12 months, and hopefully more years to even come, is, to keep building it, and like you said, to get more evidence out there and more proof.
We'll be about 85 sighted.
Still going.
The 75th birthday of Paranormal Living. But yeah, I think we've got quite a few thank yous in order for the past 2 years.
Yes, you can't.
I'll let you take it away with these ones.
So I'll run off quickly. So of course, thank you to you guys who watch every live we ever do. Like people who've been there from the beginning, people who just joined now. Thank you very much for your support, shares, love arts, and all the likes. We really do appreciate it. And obviously we've got a lot more planned, and it's going to be. We just want to keep bettering ourselves and bettering the Paranormal Living. So that's what I also want to say. If there's anything you'd specifically like us to do, or you want to see in regards to the show, is it more episodes, more whatever, just send us a message, put a comment in, because obviously it's your show as much as our show, and it's obviously like, we put these plans in place, but we want to know what you guys want to see, because I think that's what it's about as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And sorry to just go back to that table tipping again, the fact that people got messages and people have picked stuff up, that's what I really enjoy as well, bringing everyone into the show. So even when we're live investigating, that's what saying, like, if you pick up anything, sense anything, comment.
Yeah,
because it could mean
it's
something.
more than just the people within the video. What we've sort of like, what you've built and what I've come to join later. It's a community of people that are all like-minded and are all interested in the same thing.
Even people who've been on here are skeptical are still. I think maybe it's just the approach we take to how we do it.
Absolutely.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So, like I say, guys, of course, thank you to you guys. And, of course, Jay, who I started with this with back 2 years ago as a podcast on Apple. You can still get the podcast if you go on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Podbean. I think it's on Spotify now. But you can get Paranormal Living podcast on there. there's 3 series of that from interviews with other people. So if you're sending any of the lives I've done with interviewing, the audios are on there, and then obviously other episodes we've done away from the live, so they're on there. So make sure you check out Paranormal Living podcast. Of course, Andrea Perron, Denise, who is our medium at Paranormal Living, she will be joining us as well with her daughter Zoe, who you did see on that video as well. They'll be coming in talking to us both about their mediumship, and Zoe does a lot of that, and spirit animals and stuff like that. With tarot cards, yeah. So they're going to be joining us soon. Of course, Mark and Carrie from Paranormal Technology, where we get all our equipment from. After there's a few. Anne Furby, who I got to interview, who I met in the Elvis world. She come to watch a few of my shows, mentioned she was a medium, and then we got talking, and she was absolutely lovely. She was the spiritual artist. And then we have Richard Felix, of course, Stephen Hemingway, who's another medium who we come on talking spirit, absolutely fascinating. David Trainer, Bob, of course, he'll be returning in a couple of weeks. Lorna's having a couple of weeks off, so Bob will be coming back, as well as Bob will be on the lives as well. And of course, our last guest, who was Reverend James Bray. Jason, I did it again. Reverend Jason Bray. I do apologise. We did this the other week. We put James before we.
J names.
Yeah, Reverend Jason Bray.
Yes. And then for next week's guest, we have a really exciting one. We have Nick Peace, who is a spiritual medium and author of Revelation, a great book which we have both been reading, although we nearly had to fight over it because we're trying to read it both at the same time.
Yeah. Sorry.
So it's a fictional novel about proving the life after death. Does it exist? So we'll be talking all about that next week with the book, talking to him, asking about his mediumship, everything else. So yeah, I'm excited for that one.
There's a lot to look forward to. And then, of course, August, the show is slightly changing without giving anything away. There's going to be a new form to this Monday Night Lives. And we also have a brand new series which will be airing the first Thursday in August, which is A to Z of Myths and Legends. So we're going to have people coming on, obviously talking about everything from Dracula to aliens to
urban
Bigfoot.
legends, folklore, everything. Super exciting.
And hopefully find out a true version of that, where things stem from and sort of the real story. We need to do the giveaway.
I'll do the drum roll and you can do.
Did I miss it off? I probably missed it off my card.
I think it was on my card.
Terrible, Lorna.
So, once again, I will show you the prize. It is the Secrets of the Tarot Book and Cards, which is a kit. You can learn how to read them, learn how to use them correctly, and be great for beginners and more experienced people.
You got the winner on your cards?
Sorry? Nope.
Sure, right. Sorry, guys.
A technical difficulty.
What's there?
Oh, wrong card.
She said the wrong card. And live investigations are returning as well.
So, the winner of the giveaway is, thank you, it's Anita Barlow. So, congratulations, you have won. Is it the first ever Paranormal Living giveaway?
Second.
Second.
We did, when we started 2 years ago, we did one with some other
we
bits.
will get this to you, give us a message, drop us an inbox, and this is yours, and we will get that to you. But thank you very much for staying with us tonight, and I've really enjoyed myself. What about you?
Yeah, it's weird. It's crazy to think 2 years. I actually didn't realise how much we'd done. And again, like I said to you, how much evidence and proof we actually got, and a lot of things happened, and a lot of good things, bad things, ups and downs along the way. But it's been good, and obviously now it's me and you.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next Monday with Nick. He's going to be talking about his mediumship, as we mentioned in his novel. And we will also be returning with these live investigations. So keep your eyes out. Keep watching on Paranormal Living. See you soon, guys. Take care. Love and light. Adios.